What happened? Perfect. That's cool. Oh.
Welcome to the Virtual Stab Comedy Theater. It's time for the Suzette Veneti Show. Please welcome to your screen, Suzette Veneti.
Keep doing what you do. Hey everybody, it is 5:05 on May 16th, which means if you have plans for the 4th of July, what are you doing? It's like 2 months away. Don't make plans that far ahead, okay? Hi, I'm Suzette Veneti, and welcome to the Suzette Veneti Show. It's a very special show where we have very special guests, and we're going to do a roundtable about performer entitlement. I'm very excited for it, but let's get started with the monologue. But first, before we do that, I want to say thank you to Jesse for dealing with me, because I am a lot. Okay, here we go. With a new announcement in California, Governor Newsom says that masks are no longer needed as of June 15th. That means the annual survey/scientific study of the ugliest counties will come back to haunt Sacramento, where residents are always the ugliest. It's been a prettier county when we can only see each other's eyes. Trader Joe's drops the mask requirement, the first big company to drop the mask requirement. The president of the company said he has to do something. The employees were complaining that they didn't want to have to wear masks and the ugly shirts, and they want to keep the ugly shirts. Recently, in Seminole County, Florida, Barbara and Jack Thornton discovered alligator found with an alligator. Excuse me, forgot the preposition. Let's start over. Recently, in Seminole County, Florida, Barbara and Jack Thornton discovered an alligator found with its eyes, mouth, and limbs taped up, swimming near the shore of her backyard in Wakiva River. The spokesreptile for the alligator said, "Hey, lady, don't kink shame. If we want to be tied up and bound up and blindfolded, let us." California has a 1.1 positive testing rate. Newsom proposed pre-K to all 4-year-olds and opening up college savings accounts and universal after-school in disadvantaged communities. And somehow, Caitlyn Jenner still thinks that somebody's going to vote for her. GOP leadership voted out Liz Cheney, tying themselves tighter to Trumpism. So, not a joke. We should all buckle up. Ohio will give 5 vaccinated adults $1 million unless you're under 18 and you win a scholarship. The funny thing is the scholarship, which is obviously education, should go to people that aren't vaccinated because they should get educated because they're not vaccinated, which you should do. A cyber attack on the Colonial Pipeline ceased operations for the pipeline. The Colonial Pipeline provides half of all gasoline, diesel fuel, and jet fuel to the East Coast, but the hackers didn't turn off the spigot. They simply made it impossible for the company to bill what was being sent out. So the gasoline shortage wasn't because there was a gasoline shortage. It was because they couldn't gouge customers at the pump. Just an FYI, not a joke. Colorado gunman killed 5 people and then himself at a birthday party in a trailer park, which was a violent overreaction. He was upset because he was not invited. This tragic news is extremely disappointing, but it happens to be in Congresswoman Lauren Boebert's state, the same Congresswoman who wants more guns in more hands in the country. In related news, a federal jury dismissed NRA's attempt at bankruptcy. This stops the NRA from reincorporating, which is great because next time a birthday party happens and someone doesn't get invited, maybe someone won't have the guns to kill the other people there. Ellen DeGeneres is ending her talk show. So, hi, NBC. If you want a queer-themed talk show run by a quirky blonde comedian, financial regulators have asked major banks to issue credit cards to people without credit. Traditionally, these people have been locked out of credit cards, but now banks are like, you know what? We can charge more people with 26.99 APR. Why not? 3 people have been arraigned in connection with tax evasion and labor law violations at Japanese restaurants in San Jose, Concord, and Daly City. They owned and operated. David Tai Leng, Sunny Su Kang Chen, and Wendy Lai Ip are charged with stealing more than $893,000 in wages from their employees and evading $287,697 in sales taxes and $171,820 in employment taxes. When they reached their comment about the 3 facing charges, someone's dad said, "Looks like they'll get their just desserts." Dad jokes. Don't do them. Attorneys for the 3 officers that weren't Derek Chauvin are claiming witness coercion in the murder of George Floyd and said they would like the case moved to a location where people either A, didn't see the new footage, or B, are totally racist. A new facial recognition website sparks concerns about privacy. The new website, Pim Eyes, lets users see a limited number of small, somewhat pixelated search results at no cost. Or you can pay a monthly fee, which starts at $29.99 for more extensive search, where Pim Eyes found and sets up alerts for PIM eyes, new pictures on faces online, and software believes that a match of the uploaded faces. When reached for comment, 80% of Facebook users posted, "I don't like this," and then they continued posting on Facebook, including their location. That's all I have for jokes. Kind of ran through it today because I'm really excited about the show. We're going to get to it. It is a roundtable about performer entitlement. And not only do I have my regular contributor, Clifton Ellison, which I will bring on right now. Clifton is one of my favorite people, one of my favorite follows. Hello, Clifton. You're not going to spill the tea, or you're going to spill the tea a little bit today, but do it quickly so we can get to this show. How are you doing today?
I am blessed and highly favored. I had a nice little brunch with my girl and caught up, and I got to see you briefly.
You did.
For a little bit while you were running around making sure that I don't know if you were in between numbers or what, but you were on a mission, honey. Yeah, I wanted to come to the drag show, but y'all was sold out again, which is good. You know, you keep telling me to use my privilege and just come on up in there though. But
I do.
You know, I want to be fair to the other people. I don't want to be that bitch.
Okay.
But
at the same time, are you a club employee?
Yes, I am.
Okay. And do you know Suzette Veneti?
Yes, I do.
And does she love you?
She does love me.
Okay. Well, all three of those things, mainly the club employee, can get you into brunch.
Okay.
So come into brunch.
Okay. I just didn't want to, you know how you talked about entitlement. I didn't want to be entitled and strolling there with two other people, and you know.
Oh, I didn't say they could come.
Yeah, so I was with other people, so that's how come I couldn't do it. But
well, tell Ray hello. Tell Ray hello.
So the tea, I'm gonna try to condense this tea, make it some quick flat tummy tea for you.
Very strong tea. Very strong tea.
Yeah. So about Ellen, you know, bye. It's been real, honey. You had 19 years. You know, you had a good solid run. 19 years, that's a what, 18 years, one article said 19, 18, whatever. That's a long time. The bitch has been on TV and that talk show since I was in high school. And I'm a woman of a particular age now. So let's just say she's been around for a minute with that show. And you know, in the words of Monique, the comedian from VH1's Charm School, when you do clownery, the clown comes back to bite. May not come today, may not come tomorrow, but it will always come back to bite. And honestly, I've heard rumblings of her being an evil person for a long time. And this little sob story, she was like, "Oh, it's misogyny, and they're coming to get me." Girl, just same thing I told Caitlin. What is up with everybody in our community acting up? Go to Calabasas, collect your checks, and leave us alone. That's it. You know, you had a good run, Ellen. You're a woman of a particular age. You were pushing retirement age. Just collect your check. You get them Finding Nemo checks. You get them Dory checks. You know, you're good. You're set. You got a beautiful wife. You got a beautiful home.
Just keep swimming. Just keep swimming. Yeah.
Away from us. Now, Miss Jenner.
Yeah.
You have a 6% approval rating. 6%.
That much?
6. I've been on a weird Monique kick lately, so I'm gonna quote another Monique line from another movie, We Seen Precious, and the line that she says, "Don't nobody want you, don't nobody need you." That's the Caitlyn. Don't nobody want you, don't nobody need you. Just like I said, collect those checks because you're getting those checks from your show, unless Chris cut you off keeping up the Kardashian revenue checks. But you know, we look back in hindsight when you watch the show, you realize that she didn't really get to speak that much, and I feel like Chris probably told her hush. And now I see why, because the more she talks, the more it's just like. Because I'm like, if memory serves me correctly, bitch, didn't you participate in a golf tournament a couple years ago? And this was after you came out as Caitlyn.
A women's golf tournament is
yes.
Precisely what you're saying.
So you are going to do all that, but then you want the acceptance when it's your time to shine. but then you don't want to grant the same acceptance to others, and you actually want to work hard to close that door for other people to get the same opportunities that you wanted us to give you. Go somewhere and sit down with that.
Which is a great point, because Caitlyn Jenner has had a lot of privileges and a lot of benefits of being a rich white person, and able to get a lot of work done to be a trans woman and benefit from all of that money. So
just line, really.
Say again?
She skipped the line. Like, she didn't have to, because, you know, I have many friends who are trans, and it's not that easy. You know, like you're figuring yourself out. It's just like life in general. You're finding yourself, you're figuring yourself out. If you don't have those resources, you got to work to get to where you want to get to and everything like that. And she just was like, hey, I got the coin, so let me jump to it. I'm going to post myself on Vanity Fair and give all this awards, and I want you to give me all the attention and the love and support. But then once I get there, I'm gonna show you that I am still a raggedy Republican, and I'm just gonna try to just chop everything down for others after you gave me the grace and the love of coming out with my own truth. That's the part that astounds me. It's the audacity for me. It's just, you would think that someone who was in the public eye and who really, her situation was really seamless. Like, she didn't really catch that much heat in my, like, maybe I didn't see a lot of heat, but she didn't really catch that much heat. She got a lot of love and support, but then, like, once she started showing her ass, it was just like,
well, you know what GOP stands for?
Trash.
Gross old people.
True. Yeah. And I mean, you know, she is a woman of a particular age. You know, she's up there. So you can get all the surgery you want, though, but that neck, just like trees, will always tell the truth.
You saying she got rings to tell her age?
Girl.
She's a mighty oak.
Well, you know, she just need to go somewhere and moisturize and mind her business. You know, go with Ellen. Go you, her, Ellen, and who else has been messing up? Her.
We talking in the gay world or anybody?
In the gay world.
You tell me.
Well, I mean, RuPaul has been questionable too. So maybe her, Ellen, RuPaul, and Pierce Morgan, who I think is suspect still. Pierce Morgan, maybe they can have their own roundtable show called The Shunned.
How are you going to hate Little Mix?
What did they do to you? Like, that's the part that I don't like. And the
salute.
I'm still getting familiar with the group, and I saw the documentary of Jessie, who was the one that left the group, and that was the most saddest thing ever. Like, they did her so dirty. And Pierce, don't get me started on Pierce. I don't like him. He can, just like the rest of them, go somewhere and sit down. That seems to be the theme of the day. Just go somewhere and sit down. Just leave us out of it. We didn't ask to be a part of this, but you just keep coming and coming and coming and opening your mouth and just. Now, the last tea is, you don't watch Housewives of Atlanta, do you?
Not of Atlanta, no.
Okay, so I'm going to try to keep this one brief.
Okay.
So Portia Williams, who is a cast member of Housewives of Atlanta, she was engaged, kind of in an entanglement with her baby's father. And then another cast member who was like a friend of the show, her name was Fallon, she divorced her husband, who was a millionaire, while filming the last season. So the season just ended about last week. They had the reunion and everything like that. And, you know, Portia was all big on girl code, you know, because there was a big old controversy about the bachelorette party and the stripper, and did she sleep with the stripper or not? And the stripper had this is a children's show, but you get what I'm saying. So, I don't blame her if she slept with him because he was fine.
Real Housewives of Atlanta is a children's show, or this is a children's show?
There's children watching this show.
Oh, okay. I don't know if they should watch.
Well, I'm trying to watch my mouth.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Trying to watch my mouth and respect the show. I don't want to be talking about dangalangs and things like that, but I'm trying to be respectful, Suzette.
I appreciate it.
But so then, she's all talking about, that's girl code. You don't talk about what happens at bachelorette parties and da-da-da. Come to find out, the whole time, this bitch was basically lining up Fallon's soon-to-be ex-husband. Now that the season wrapped up, she posted on Instagram a picture of her and Fallon's ex-husband with an engagement ring on and looking a little plump in the belly. And then here's the other kicker. The baby daddy was standing right next to them too. And I'm just like, maybe he's trying to not get the alimony. Maybe she's trying to secure the bag, or maybe she's trying to secure a spot for next season. Who knows? But the man is worth $40 million. And I mean, I don't blame her, but how are you going to sit here and kiki with this girl and be her friend and then turn around and take her ex-husband? And the divorce papers haven't even dried. That's messy.
You're not wrong. That's
very messy. But I'm going to watch it because, I love mess. But
oh, I know. That's why you're on my show with me.
Yes.
Hi.
So, about the entitlement thing, it's so funny because you're talking about how people wanted to have certain things because they've been doing things for a while.
Well, let me stop you right there, and let's bring in the other roundtable guest today, if you don't mind.
Go ahead, yeah.
Okay, cool. So without further ado, one of my favorite people, truly, I say that and people think I don't mean it, but I always mean it when I say it because I don't say what I don't mean. This time, I just want to sincerely say I do mean this. One of my favorite people, one of my favorite performers, Roselia Valentine. Hello, Roselia. How are you?
I'm doing well.
She's
Thank
here.
you, Suzette.
Okay.
Hello, Clifton.
Oh, she is here.
I'm
She
just
is
over here hanging on every word that he was saying about the Real Housewives of Atlanta because I am just hooked into Housewives right now.
Of Atlanta?
No, I haven't started that deep into Atlanta, but I've binged through Beverly Hills and New York, and so I'm just like hanging on every word, hearing what's happening over there. Love it.
Oh, so you never watched Atlanta at all?
Not yet, no. It's next on the
Oh,
list.
baby.
So when watching Real Housewives, do you watch all of New York, like 1 through current season? And
That's the goal, yeah. So
Okay.
I've done 1 through the current season of Beverly Hills, moved on to New York. I'll binge through that, and then I'll move on over to Atlanta.
So you go from like, when did they start? Like 2005? And then,
Atlanta
No,
was
a
like
little bit later.
2008.
Yeah, a little bit later, but still pretty in that area.
right, you're in like standard definition, and then you're getting caught
Very
up with
true.
real life, and then you go back to 2008.
It's trippy, but it's always nice to like kind of like go back in time and like, the world was so much simpler before smartphones and before internet everywhere. And it's just a nice like little breath of fresh air from current life to just go back to a somewhat simpler time.
The arguments on the flip phones, and then like when they're cussing each other out on the flip phone and they zoom into the phone, and it's like, remember how you would send a long text message to come out as 2 messages on the phone?
No, oh my god.
The Motorola Razors, and then if you watch Atlanta, Kim's OCX season 1 wigs are very shake and go.
I
Like,
just know
they're
I just know they clack the phones when they're done with it. That's how old it is. Just
The clamshell
clack.
phones.
throw it out of sight, out of mind.
Oh no.
And then also, Suzette, when you watch Housewives and you go back to the first season, you see a lot of their original faces. And then like
That's
as
the best part.
the shows go through, you're like, oh, her nose is getting a little bit more contoured. Oh, she got rid of her double chin. It's kind of getting more pulled in, and her wig line's a little bit better because I always make a joke about Housewives franchises. The first seasons is always the most busted season because the wigs are always wrong, on all cities. The wigs are always wrong. And then the standard definition, you can see the wig line sometimes and everything. It's a mess. But you're in for a ride. I can't wait to hear what you think about it, Rosalina.
You'll be the first to know. You'll be the first to know.
But yes, let's talk about this entitlement, honey.
Bring it on.
Okay, so let's talk about this. Last week, and really honestly the last month and a half, we have talked to Apple Adams, Helen Heels, Deja Sky, Precious Cargo, and now I have Roselia Valentine with me, and I know we've talked about it personally, and I've talked with a couple other queens. There is this I don't know if I want to call it a sentiment. There's this feeling of new performers where it's like, especially during COVID, which is strange. I've been performing for a year. I want the best bookings. I want the best pay. And it's like, but you haven't performed for an audience live. And an audience, and I say this as a lady that has a talk show. A live audience is very different from a streaming audience.
Very different.
So that is happening. That's A. That's column A. Column B is people, and Rosie, if you don't mind me saying this, I saw you talking on Helen's show, and you said, and I'm only saying this because you said this publicly, all drag is valid, not all drag is good. And let me say, and I'm not trying to put you on blast, but let me say, I hold myself to that standard, because when I look back at videos, and we have Yaya in studio, and you and Yaya have seen me, not on mic, but you guys have seen me almost the whole time. And I look back at old video, like old punchline videos, like what no one knew was like, sometimes some of those punchline shows were like my 14th performance in drag. And that is not seasoned. That is very new. That is very green. And that's not good. I look back at those and I go, huh, like that very Jewish ethnic noise. Huh. It's not. Was it valid? Yes. Was it good? Fuck no. You know. And I've strived to get to the point where I am good, and I don't even know if I'm there yet, but I want to be. And I feel like performers nowadays, and I say this from a place of a booker, but also a person who wants people to be their best. You need to be something that is not only true to you, but also is what the audience wants to see. And I'm going to stop. I'm going to let you guys talk now.
Very
Well,
true.
like, it comes from like you know, they've been doing drag for a year. I've only been DJing for maybe like a year and some change, and I just was learning how to mix and everything right before COVID hit. So then when COVID hit, that's a whole year of not even touching anything in there. So then
that sounds like my dating life. I'm sorry. I just had to interject that. Go ahead.
What was that?
That sounds like my dating life. Go on.
Oh. And so, like, you know, to go from that to kind of starting over fresh again, I'm trying to take any type of advice or anything I can get. You know, thank God for Pac, because he helped me out last night tremendously. And it would be very audacious of me to be like, oh, I've been doing this for a year. I don't need you. Like, nah, like if you know the skills and you've been doing this a lot longer than I have, and you notice that I'm doing something that is wrong or something that could be fixed, and you tell me, I'm going to listen and I'm going to apply it. And also, too, I'm not going to sit here and have this mentality of, well, I've been doing it for a year, so I should be getting paid more, and I should be doing all the Friday shows, and I should be doing Saturday events and stuff like that. No, like, you got to walk before you run. And I feel like with a lot of these girls, I don't know the details of it, but just from what I hear, a year is not enough. Like, and then also too, if you're not putting in your work and paying your dues and doing like some fundraisers or getting out there and, you know, actually really like doing it, nah, sis, you better collect your $50 check like everybody else. And
If that. Yeah. So let me throw this over to Rosie. Okay, a couple things. One,
I'll be right back. But I'm going to be here, but I'll be right back.
Okay. So Rosalia, one, how much time does someone is there a time? Can you put a time limit on when someone is seasoned, or is it abstract? And two, what makes someone ready for, let's say, the prime time?
I mean, those are two really good questions that I don't
Thank you.
think a lot of performers really take into consideration. So for the first question, how long does it take to become seasoned? That is completely dependent on the individual, how much talent they have, first of all, like raw talent that you cannot find, buy, or resource. It's just something that is innate, versus how much work you are actually putting into perfecting your craft. These are two things that must coalesce before you can actually become a seasoned performer. And I say that because a great example of this would be me and Yaya, because I had been dabbling in drag for about maybe 2 years before I started dating Yaya, before I met Yaya. And Yaya hadn't been doing drag at all during those 2 years that I had been, wearing bad makeup, wearing bad wigs, and still stepping out to like those freebie shows. You show up, you perform for your tips. And I was by no means good during that time, but I had my foot in the water of doing drag. Then when I started dating Yaya started seeing what the world of drag basically, and wanted to start, and just took off and like met me at my level so quickly. It just shows that like, Yaya had that raw innate talent, put in work to like get to where I was. And in turn that made me want to like put in more work, because the talent is there. If you're a talented artist, that is in there, but you need to put the work. You need to really dedicate your time to your craft. And that's what's going to make you a seasoned performer, because you're not just going to say, I'm good. I know I'm good, and I'm going to step out. I've been doing this for a while.
Oh, no. And Chelsea, she's not here tonight. She got the second shot and she's not feeling well. You know Chelsea, though. Last week she said, if you ever think you're there, you should quit.
And that is great advice. If you're at the top of your game and you can't do any better than what you're doing, then where's the fun in that?
Right.
I would say, where's the progress to be made? Where's the challenge? And, like, for example, like if you did a number that wasn't your best and you wanted to be something in your repertoire, then assess what went wrong, apply the solution, so that way the next time you do it, it's better than it was the first time. There's always room for improvement. And with drag, when there is a million elements that go into it, from hair, makeup, costuming, and the details that go into making each one of those things good, when there's so many room for improvement on all of those elements, I cannot imagine you just thinking that you're the best when there's just a vast universe for each of those separate pieces that go into drag. There's just not enough time in the world. There's just so much that I cannot imagine someone saying, I'm the master at this. There's nothing more that I can learn.
Oh my God, I can't imagine someone saying they're the best at drag in Sacramento, because there's so many high level, extremely talented. I mean, you've taken a year off and you came back for brunch today, and it's not your first performance back. You've been back. You were in Mercury's brunch.
So I did brunch in Modesto. I did
Right.
Merck's dinner show, and then brunch today. So this was my third show.
Okay,
since coming back from the pandemic.
But I mean, my point is, and I don't blow smoke up people, but you are in the upper echelon of drag performers in Sacramento. For someone to say that they're there, that's a huge statement, because there are specific people there. You, Yaya, Apple, Helen, even though she lives in Stockton, Taryn, Mercury. I mean, to be in the upper echelon of Sacramento drag, you're putting yourself with really, really talented, creative, amazing performers. So you have to back that up. And like you said, you were dabbling for 2 years. How long, for the audience, how long have you been doing drag?
In total, since like I started playing with drag and like my first performance on stage to now, it's been, pandemic included, so
Sure.
just like a continuous line here, it's been about 8 years that I've been doing drag.
So time is interesting when it comes to performing, and I always make this point, because to say, because I have a stiletto foot in comedy, a comedian who does open mics 5 times a week for a year. Are they the same as a comedian who does open mics once a week for a year? No. One put in 5 times more work. So time is weird, and you can't really base it on time. But you have been working consistently at your, and I'm saying this about the pandemic because you still worked. You did videos.
Mm-hmm.
You still were putting in. You didn't say, "Oh, it's a year off. I'm good. I don't need to work." So you have been. That 8 years is a valid 8 years. Is my point. When do you feel like you found your footing?
I would say that I found my footing. I think it's when you start doing multiple shows back to back and you really take away the stress of like overthinking everything. If you
Sorry,
still have that,
I'm laughing at myself. I'm laughing at
if you still
myself.
have that, Suzette, then that's probably one of the barriers that you just need to overcome. And I'll be honest, because it's a barrier that I thought was gone, but coming back a year later of not doing drag live, it's come back, and it's actually tripped me up. Like last week when I did the dinner show, it was the first time I felt stage fright, and not like,
oh my God.
like not like nerves, like, oh, I'm excited to do this, but like actual stage fright. Like
when you're also a theater actor,
and it was,
so, and this is the first time ever you felt stage fright.
Well, first time since like I found my footing, I would say.
Okay,
Since like
okay.
I've like really found my footing in doing drag. It was the first time I felt that. It felt like I was doing like an amateur night again for, you know, tips. And it was just kind of like, this is a feeling I haven't felt in so long. And I am grateful because it was a thing that instinctually I was like, I don't want to feel that again. I don't want to feel like I wasn't at the level that I know I should be at. And so it lights a fire under my ass. And I think that's an instinct that seasoned performers need to have, because if you're just going out there doing a, you know, not your best job every time, but you think you're telling yourself that was my best number, that's all I can give, and you never want to improve on that, that's really where you're gonna stay at.
And I say this as a comedian, not as, because I haven't seen this as much in drag, but what I've seen as a comedian is performers being delusional about their performance. Oh, I killed it. And it's like,
bad friends, they'll be there to tell you, girl, that was so good, I loved it. And it's like, be a good friend.
Right.
Get you a really good person like Yaya, because they will be the first to say, now, let's evaluate what happened here. What was that? And you know, it's harsh at first. It's not the reassurance you want, but it's gonna make you a better performer.
But you don't need that. You don't need someone to just say you're great every time out.
The drunk audience will tell you that. You're fine. There's 50 other patrons who will gladly tell you that you are the most majestic thing that they have ever seen.
So this is interesting, right? Because I don't think you're caught up on my show with every episode, which is fine. But the last couple shows, first of all, I had Miss Deja Sky scold me in a way that nobody has and tell me to stop being self-deprecating and tell me that I belong with the people that I perform with, because I never feel like I do. But I said, okay, I will not do that anymore because I admire you and I won't do that. So that's one thing, is to have people who are real with you, which she was in a way that I didn't expect. But then there's another thing, which is to not just go off the drunk audience, but get honest feedback from people that you trust. And the other thing, I guess there's a third thing, is and again, you both have seen me, and I'm referencing you on camera and Yaya off camera. You've both seen me in really good and really bad. And you've both been so nice to me. But I told Helen on her show, I want to get to the point where I don't feel like I was so great today, but the audience is still like, girl, you slayed, you lived it. And if that's my off day, okay, we're making progress. So I don't know if I have a question here. I'm going to try to figure it out. And Clifton is back. What can a new performer do?
Man didn't know how to read instructions, but I'm back.
Okay.
But yeah, to piggyback on what you're talking about,
yes.
I would that's why I was thankful for when Pocket told me hey, make sure when you transition the songs, make sure you line the beats up, make sure that the BPMs are good, make sure, it's actual constructive criticism, because if everybody was just told, oh, you did good, you slayed it, you killed it, then you're just going to rest on your laurels and you're not going to try to improve anything, and you're just going to think that you're the shit. Well, really, you're not. And, I've had, it was nerve-wracking coming back and actual playing for people, because when playing during COVID times, the lights are on in the bar. So I could see everybody's faces. So if I'm playing something and I see a couple of faces start to go, then I'm going to be like, oh shit, let me hurry up and scramble and find something else to put on to please the audience, or like if someone asks for a certain song that's not really in the mode of what I'm playing right now.
Like Blink 182.
Huh?
Like Blink 182.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll try, but then if it's not gonna fit, then it's kind of like, okay, do I want to please this one person, or do I want to keep the whole vibe going? And you're not gonna please everybody in all fields of work that you do, but as long as you're doing the best that you can do and you're able to listen to feedback and take it, then that's a step to being the better performer, DJ, whatever that you're doing. But it's because I've seen this many a times. I've seen I'm not gonna say no names because I don't want nobody trying to fight me. But
if it's me, name names. If it's not, you don't have to.
I've seen a drag show. This was a Sunday at Sidetracks, and those shows can be very all my friends came in to root me on kind of shows.
Yes.
And it's not really like, it was like one of those contest shows. And it wasn't like, one girl, she didn't have a lot of friends, but she turned it. She was creative. She had costumes. She knew her words and everything like that. The other girl had like about 20, 30 of her friends, being the loudest people in the room, but she danced like she was a cockroach, got sprayed by Raid. She wasn't really like doing it. And
why'd you look at me when you said that, Clifton?
What was that?
Why'd you look at me when you said that?
No, I did not look at you when you said that, because it was not you. But like this girl, she doesn't perform anymore. I don't know where she is. I haven't seen her in like years. But
I feel like we could name the name then. You don't have to. You don't have to.
This girl, she fights, and I'm not trying to go to jail for beating up on a child. But because I feel like this girl is the type that will not take that constructive criticism.
Okay, so let me take this and kick this to Rosie really quick. So performing as who you are as a performer, and doing the numbers you want to do versus the numbers that the audience wants to see. How do you balance that?
This is like a question that I was hoping you would get to, because I think this really can be baseballed over to these new performers who are having this gigantic sense of entitlement lately.
Okay.
Because I feel like you really need to take your audience into consideration.
Yes.
As a performer, there are a million songs on my playlist I would love to perform, but I'm not going to perform because I know that in a club setting with the audience that I have there, it's not going to land. And that's totally fine. That is nobody's fault. That's just, these ideas are not meant to connect, or maybe they're not meant to connect with the way that I'm going to present it. And that's fine. So that'll be on the back burner. I feel like a lot of new performers that I would see back when I would go to, pre-pandemic, when I would go to after hours, there's a sense of freedom in doing like anything you want to perform, which is fine. That's what that night is for. Really just express yourself. But you have to understand that not every song choice is going to land with your audience.
It does, even if it's so important. And that's the thing. There are shows that you can do that you can get that number out, but not every show is that show. Brunch is a great example. Brunch is not a show where you can and again, I'm going to reference, even though you're not on screen, but I love you, so I'm talking to you. We had Fierce, Fresh, and Fabulous here. Jesse was so wonderful to let us have that show where we had under 21 drag queens. And I got to do really artsy shit. I did I'm so old. I'm showing my age. I did this song from the video game where I was Black Mesa, not the character I was. But I can't remember. I don't even know the fucking video game. I'm so lame. But
was it Pong? What is this?
no, it wasn't. I'm not that old. But the thing is, like, can I do that at brunch? No, because I'm gonna lose the audience. Can I do what I did today? Yes, and I did. Chelsea's not here. Chelsea always says, and Clifton knows this, and I will tell you, Rosie. So she always says, "Okay, bitch, what did you do?" And I would tell her. See, he's laughing because he knows. I would tell her, okay, well, I started with what the fuck did I do? I started with
the hoe number. No, that wasn't you. That was
Helen.
That was Helen.
Okay.
I saw your second number. It was the Call Me Maybe mix.
Yeah, I did a Call Me Maybe mix. I don't even remember what my first number was, but
that's why I don't drink.
It was something that everyone knows. And then Call Me Maybe, I did. Clifton, you didn't see this, but I did Call Me Maybe, and I bleeped out the call, so it was Beat Me Maybe. So you can infer. But the audience gets that. They know that. Have I wanted to do Call Me Maybe since I heard it in 2012? No. But did I think the audience would enjoy it? Sure. So I did that because I thought they would like it. I was closing the show. Let's give them something they want. So I think, again, I'm without question here, but that I think it's important, like you said, to give the audience something they can like and not necessarily something on your playlist that you've been waiting to do. Find the place and time for that.
Mm-hmm.
And Clifton did mention that, when he's in the DJ booth and he can see the audience if they're vibing with it or not, that rule does not get suspended for when a drag performer is on stage. If anything, it's amplified because they have no choice but to listen to the song and watch the stage. I mean, it's tricky, like I don't want to sound like a bitter queen who's like been in the game for 30 years trying to like scold children or anything like that, because that's not it at all. But it really is like there are like lessons that you either need to learn early, and if you can't learn them, then you realistically have to understand that maybe there's not that much longevity in this field that you're thinking. Because if you don't have that much foresight, if you can't really read the room that you're performing for, what's your career really based off? Is it to entertain others, or is it just to entertain yourself? And you really gotta take that into consideration.
Because trust me, there's a lot of songs that I would love to play. Like I would love to play some Chloe and Holly. I would love to play FKA Twigs. I would love to play so many things, but I know I'm like, okay, I have a room full of over 35-year-old, happy hour gays. Am I really going to throw some Azealia Banks and Chloe and Holly at this group?
I'm going to Clifton DJ nights. That's all I know.
It's like I have to shift it to this group. That's kind of like you as a drag performers. If you know that you're doing a brunch and your brunch is usually 20-something crowd, not too old, kind of young, are you going to go out there and give them, trying to think of like an old number, like Turn the Beat Around and some Shaka Khan, or are you going to try to give them some Katy Perry and some something a little bit more current? And it's kind of like that, like I want to give them a piece of my authentic self, but I also want to give them what they want. And it's really finding that perfect medium, because if you keep going at it for yourself, you're going to go out there and once they say your name, bitches are going to go and get a drink or look at their phone.
Boom.
Caveat though, right? Because and you said turn the beat around. So I am the bitch to always be like, when we have Diva Day, to be like, I got Gloria Estefan. So if you can, and I'm not saying this is me, but if you can do it and you can sell it and you can live it so hard and make the audience appreciate it, then do it. We're not saying that you have to do Katy Perry and Ariana Grande and who's the newest, Olivia Rodrigo. You don't have to do the newest songs every time, but you have to find the happy balance of connecting with the audience and doing a song that you connect with. Because it also doesn't work the other way. Like, could I come out and do an Ariana Grande number? Yeah. But if it doesn't mean anything to me and I perform it hollow, what's the point?
Yeah.
And you both said it perfectly. You have to take a piece of yourself as a performer and something that the audience will buy from you, and they have to meet. And that's where the artistry really comes into, whether it's DJing that Clifton does or drag that we do. Any new DJ, any new drag performer needs to understand that those things need to meet. Otherwise, you're not going to have a great time, and neither will the audience.
So how long did it take you, Roselia, to understand that?
I found out the hard way, which I'm really grateful for. I was maybe a year or two when I was into doing drag, and it was back when Sidetracks would do like little Sunday competitions for new faces, and I would lose those every single time. And I mean, I would come in dead last. And there was one time when I came in, like, there was only 2 of us one night. I was like, oh, I got this. I'm going to win this. And I still lost. And I remember just after the show, I went to my car by myself and I just like cried to myself. And I was like, that's it. I do not want to be bad anymore. I do not want to feel this way anymore. I want to be better at doing this. And so I would say that was really the turning point for me early on, knowing that I need to turn this around. I need to break whatever cycle I'm in thinking that I'm good, because it's clearly not. And so that's when I really connected the things that I was doing was not meeting my needs or the audience needs. So it was really just, you know, I started taking more theater classes at school. I really started just investing myself into this craft. And then again, when I started dating Yaya and I saw how fast Yaya was progressing, that lit another fire under my ass and saying like, okay, wow, like somebody who never did this before me is like already at my level, surpassing me. I'm too comfortable now. Let's hit it again. So really it's just like challenging yourself and really evaluating yourself and understanding that you're not the best that you are and wanting to be better. That's really what's going to push you over. And so I learned that early on. And then I learned that again when I started dating Yaya. And I'm still learning that to this day. So it's something that it's an instinct that you have to keep with you.
It's interesting you say that, because not everybody dates another performer of the same performance style. So that pushed you. That could easily have deterred you.
It wasn't a linear progression. I'll say there was a lot of jealousy at first, because I was just like blown away with how fast Yaya was getting it. And I was like, oh my God, like it really did knock me on my ass. But again, like I wanted to be better. So, you know, no one's going to do it for you. No one's going to hand it to you. You gotta get it yourself. So.
Okay. So you wanted to be better. Clifton, you wanted to be better at DJing. So I'll ask you one at a time. What? So you're there in your. First of all, you should have come and gotten me and said, "Hey, Suzette, enter this Sidetrack show," and then you wouldn't have come in last. But you wanted to be better, and what steps did you take? And then Clifton will come to you and ask you what steps you've taken to be better at DJing. So Roselia, what steps did you're sitting in your car? You want to be better at this. What's your next move?
It was basically just an overall renaissance. My wigs were bad. My makeup was bad. My costuming was bad. So it became a thing of like networking with people that I maybe had not talked to before that I saw had good stuff, to see if maybe I could learn under their wing, you know? And so that's when you start getting connected to other people in the same craft that you do. You learn new tips and tricks. You learn where to look for new things. And that's really it. And, you know, like we're talking years ago. So it's like, it wasn't like an overnight thing. It was very much a little by little kind of build. And so that's where my first step was really networking with people that I was looking up to in my local scene and asking them questions and not being afraid of getting feedback that wasn't, you know, like, oh, you're doing great. You're perfect. Just keep doing what you're doing. It was like, no, so do it this way because this is wrong. And really learning those lessons and applying them to this day.
And before we kick it to Clifton, if I mean, you don't have to name those names, but do you want to name those names?
Luna Nova was the big one.
Okay.
So Luna Nova was where I started like learning like good old fashioned hair tricks, learning how to dig through different kinds of thrift stores to find costumes. And this was a different time in drag. This was like before RuPaul's Drag Race really change the way that modern fashion is for drag queens. So, you know, things that you could find in a thrift store, not that you can't wear them today, but back then it was a little bit more acceptable and a little bit more everybody's kind of doing it. But anyway, that's where I
The
got
trends come and go.
that's where I got like my savviness, I would say. So that's where I really got like, here's how you turn this like $2 thing into a really expensive looking thing. Anita, they go by Johnny Reinhardt now, but at the time was Anita Procedure. And that's where I just got like, that was like the performer I aspire to be at my local level. So just seeing them being like oceans ahead of me and being so good was me like wanting to elevate my performance, because my performances were not good. And so those were like my two best duties at the time, to really try to like elbow my way and like drag my way up to their level. And I think it really helped. I mean, they ended up moving to LA eventually and I was on my own, but at that time I already had those resources that I got from them. So it was really just about applying them to myself without them. And then I met Yaya, and then we were really kind of like the wall for each other, bouncing ideas back and forth. And so that's been like, Yaya would be like the quintessential cornerstone of me now.
Okay, so you're saying your growth is because of Yaya.
Oh, like today for sure.
Okay.
For sure.
And then you had Luna Nova and Johnny Reinhardt. So you had some old, these are old school queens with old school tricks. These are not new school Instagram only queens.
Well, Johnny and Luna for sure. And Yaya's much more of the modern age. So it was like really getting like best of both worlds, I would say.
That's good, because you were getting well rounded. Clifton, when you wanted to get better at DJing, what did you do?
I asked Jonathan, Ryan, Pocket, Cisco, like everybody, like, hey, like when you start to see the crowd kind of shift, what do you usually do? I don't want to, because I remember like when I used to go to, I'm aging myself right now, there was a under 21-year-old club called Bojangles back in the day. And I don't know who was the DJ there, but like, I remember like they literally like, you could predict what was coming on next. And sometimes the songs will repeat. And that used to piss me off, because that was just like, why are you repeating songs in a 3-hour time frame? Like, that's a no-no. So I remember like when I first started, I was like, okay, remember all those things that you did not like happening when you went out? Don't do that shit. But also too, you're not playing for yourself. So it's not going to be just all Beyonce all night, or it's not going to be all what's on my Spotify all night. Like, I'm dipping into genres that I never even really listened to. Like, before I started working here, I didn't really listen to reggaeton. I didn't really listen to K-pop. Didn't really listen to a lot of dance music. But then like when Pocket told me, hey, step outside and try to experiment with different things, and then Jason would put me onto a lot of artists I never even heard of. And now they're like on heavy rotation, like Rosalia, Bad Bunny, like all of the Latin music, and just knowing how to keep people captivated, but also not doing the same trick every week. It's kind of like you performing. Like every drag queen has that number that they can do with their eyes closed. Your mind could be in Pennsylvania, but you can come out there and you can do that number, and you can do it like that, and everybody will live for it. But you're not going to rely on that number every week, because if you do, then it's going to get tired. So you have to keep changing it up, switching it up. And that was one thing that Pocket really has helped me with. And also like learning how to properly like mix stuff and everything, and just play with the crowd. That's always been the fun thing of just like, when you see like it's starting to kind of die down a little bit, okay, how can I keep your ass in here? And that's always like the fun game of like, oh, I saw you were about to leave, but now you're not leaving. Oh, you're running back now. Okay, I got you now. Like, and just really just testing myself and challenging myself. And it takes a lot of mental work to not repeat a song in a 4-hour period, because goddamn.
So how do you
sometimes.
how do you get better as a DJ? So you ask the questions, you ask the people what you do in the room shifts, you get the information, But how do you actually implement that?
Basically taking what they say. Like if you see like the age range is changing in the room, then you kind of go with the age range. And sometimes I will put the song on and I'll just walk around because, you know, I can only see what's in front of me. So like I want to walk around and see who's all at the bar, because there have been times where just for the DJ booth, I can only see like maybe like 10, 12 people, but then there'll be a whole big crowd over by the bar and there'll be a whole big crowd outside. Then it's just like, okay, how can I get, well, this is pre-COVID times, but how can I get these people to come onto the floor to where I can see them? So then I would kind of like look into like, okay, we have a bunch of 20 somethings. So I know like maybe throw some Little Mix, throw some Blackpink. I have people my age, throw some Lady Gaga in there, throw some reggaeton. It's just really just not relying on the same shit every night and really just paying attention to who's there and the group that's there and playing up to what they want. And if people request things like try, like that Blink-182 request, I tried. You know, I was like, okay, I'm gonna test myself. I'm gonna put on some Paramore, then maybe some No Doubt, then I'll work my way into that though. But then once I saw people looking like, what the fuck is this? Then I was like, oh no, we're going right on back, you know. And that happens. I know you probably have done numbers where in your head you're like, okay, I'm stepping outside of my comfort zone, but then I got out there and it's just like, ooh, I'm going to leave that on the floor.
Oh, it was very, I've talked about it. I've called the Make-A-Wish Day. So there was a show I did in October where I call it my Make-A-Wish Day because it was brunch and it was Apple and Helen and Taryn and Mercury was our guest. And I did my number and the crowd, I felt the crowd saying, oh, this is, you won this. You did something to win this spot. And we appreciate you being here, but we'd like to see the real performers now. That's what I felt. And I don't want to, and I, you know, what's unfortunate as a performer, I will feel that again at some point. It's inevitable, but I don't want to feel that ever again. I don't want to feel like people are like, oh, this, are you dying? Is that why they let you perform today? I don't want to feel that. But so interesting thing that Clifton raises, as a DJ, he gets to change what he's doing midstream. Roselia, do you get to change? Do you ever change do you do a number? Because with drag, it's a little different. You do a number. You can't change in the middle of the number. Do you get to change after the fact?
It's tricky because I only have 4 costumes. No, I'm kidding. That's a joke that I love to throw around because I do repeat a lot.
Oh, people think I only had one hair for
you
years.
Don't?
No, I know.
No, I'm teasing. But you know, it's different because like you know, for a normal drag show, you have 2 numbers in a set. So you have the first one, the second one, and usually you well, for me, I usually take both of my looks that I'll be doing for my first song and my second song, and sometimes I'll have like a backup look, just in case. But as far as music that you sent in, you know, the night before, that's otherwise set in stone. So I've never like gone out there and like just like, if I felt like they weren't vibing with the first number, I've never just thrown like my plan to the wind and just like gone off the deep end and be like, well, they hated that. Let me change up everything I have for the second song.
Now, so for brunch, we have a unique position, and I think Apple and I talked about it, where it's almost like the first show is not practice. It's not at all. Especially today's crowd was amazing.
It's a warm-up.
The first show was the first set, you know, and the second one is the second rep of the same thing. So you can say, ooh, and I was going to make a self-deprecating joke, but in the name of Deja, I will not do it. So you can say, I don't want to do that again. I want to switch to something else that I know is going to get the crowd hype. Would you do that?
In a way, I did that today. So like you said, the first show that we did at noon wasn't necessarily a practice run, but it was a great way of seeing like, how did they feel with what I presented?
Oh, absolutely.
And there were things in like both numbers where I'm like, oh, they didn't really like this, but they like that. So maybe implement more of that. And so that's exactly what I did for my second set. Granted, I also threw in another mimosa in the mix, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna let the champagne take the wheel. Let's see what they got for me. And so, yeah, I would say, even though there are some things you may not be able to change, like for example, my costumes and my music, the way that I perform, that I can change. And if you're doing
Absolutely.
it within what you're able to do, and you just blow it up even more, I think that's a great way of just automatically having that instinct that I'm talking about, like reading what the audience liked and what they didn't like, and then flipping it and presenting yourself in a better way for them to enjoy it.
Sure, yeah. I mean, this move didn't work. I should have done this instead. We definitely have a unique opportunity at brunch to do that. Clifton, when it comes to that, when do you, and this is jumping back a little bit, but when do you think you find your footing as a DJ?
It kind of randomly landed in my lap because I guess one DJ moved out of the state and then another one quit. And so Ronnie just texted me and he was just like, how would you feel about being a DJ? And I was like, I don't know how to work that stuff. And he was like, we'll train you. And so I was just doing the depot and I was just having fun. I was kind of in like my regular job was stressing me out and was going through some personal things that were really kind of like getting me like, so I needed something to kind of be like an outlet, just something fun to do and get paid for. So I was like, okay, I'll do it. And if I suck, then I'll just, bow out gracefully. But it kind of stuck and it kind of picked up. And, it's nice to hear the compliments from people, but it's also nice to hear like, hey, we like this, but why don't you throw this in here or try not to do that too much or things like that. And that really kind of like helped progress, because when you're at the depot, it's really like you're not really mixing there, you're just like kind of playing like a playlist kind of thing. You're kind of just going based off of the crowd.
Sure.
Whereas at Badlands, like you have a lot more control of what you're playing, how it sounds, how you're mixing everything. Like there's a lot more to it there, which I'm still learning, and like there will be times where I would be scheduled to work and I would have like, especially coming back after that year, I was like, I ain't telling nobody I'm working because I don't want to fuck up and have a whole bunch of my friends in there see me fuck up. But, it is nice to get the feedback and the reactions from people that you don't know, because that's an honest opinion. Like, like if you're doing drag in a room full of your friends, of course they're going to be like, yes, girl, you did that. Da, 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 da. But I'm asking both of y'all, isn't it more satisfying if you do drag in a room full of people that you do not know and they go up for you? Like they love it and it's a genuine love of what you have just did. Like, wouldn't you appreciate that more than a room full of your friends just gassing you up?
100%. Yes.
I am unique, I guess, because I have seen, like, the people that have been watching me have seen me at all stages. So if they say, okay, that was good, I believe it because they've seen my bad. That being said, a room full of strangers is very validating when they're into what you're doing. We had a bride today. We had a couple birthdays. Last week, we had a table full of ladies that were dancing along with us in their chairs, so they weren't violating COVID laws. But it's like that's extremely validating in its own way, even if they've never seen you, because it's a fresh eyes, And I think that's Deja. Going back to Deja again, she, I'm sitting here saying that I am lucky to be in the cast with the three of Helen, Taryn, and Apple, and get to perform with guests like you and Yaya and any other guests we might bring in. But she shut that up, and so it's like, okay, well, I have to accept some truths, I guess, because I can't sit in that anymore. I don't know if I'm making sense, but yeah. You
are, and I think it's definitely you're both correct. Like obviously, like having your friends gas you up is fun because it's always nice to like feel like you're doing a good job. But also like when you're having strangers that you may have not that may have never seen you
Right,
perform,
met her that day.
actually give you praise. It kind of like resets you and going like, I'm so like critical of myself that like when I really just like let go, I'm so entertaining at the end of the day. And like, you know, like it's so easy to like get hung up on your own personal details, like things that you want to work on that may not be 100% solid. But sometimes the audience doesn't see that. They don't know that. They don't know what's going on in your head. And if they thoroughly enjoyed what you did and tell you that, that's kind of nice to be like, okay, maybe I am overthinking this a little bit. And that's something I can work on with time. It doesn't need to be like smooth out right now. If it can be, perfect. If not, it's clearly giving a show regardless.
It's a number to shelve. It's a number to come back to. Clifton, do you feel that way? Do you feel that there are things that you come back to that you maybe didn't hit right the first time?
Oh, that was definitely like the past few weeks of coming back in there. Overthinking has been a monster because, especially with that system, it reverted back to default settings because no one has touched it in over a year. And so I'm in there and I'm like, wait a minute. If I'm hearing both songs and I step out there and y'all are hearing both songs, that's not good. But so then it's like fixing all that, and like, you know that there are some things that need to be fixed, but they don't know that.
No, they don't.
Like,
and I tell that to new performers all the time. Like, when you mess up, you're the only person that knows you messed up. If you keep going, if you don't acknowledge the mess up, people won't register it as a mess up.
Like last night, I was playing Rain on Me, and then like I fucked up and started the song over again. But to them, it just sounded like an extended mix. But to me, I was like, oh shit. And then I was like, why am I getting so worked up? They're drunk. They're not staring at you with pitchforks saying, how dare you start the song over again? Like, and then I was just like, okay, let me calm down. Because even all the other DJs will tell you, they've all have made mistakes, and it happens.
It does. It does. So, Roselia, when you perform and you feel within the first 5 seconds it's a mistake, it's your Make-A-Wish day, what do you do?
That's exactly what I felt last week when I'm telling you, like, I felt stage fright. That's exactly how I felt last week. I was just like, oh crap, I'm out here. This is just not going my way from the get-go, but I'm already out here. Let's just like see it through the end, get it done with, you know, do the best I can. And so the song that I felt that with last week is actually the first song that I did today, because I was like, you know what, I did not like how that song made me feel last week. I'm gonna redo it, change it up, and I'm gonna make it my own this time. And that's exactly what I did. And so it's kind of like, you got to have those battles within yourself, you know. No one's gonna really be able to do that for you. So that's exactly what I did. Didn't love it last week, loved it way more this week.
So then you try a number back-to-back weeks.
I don't often do that, but again, this is completely different because this is me coming back after not performing in over a year because of the pandemic. So it's really like my body isn't as conditioned to do drag the way that I was doing it before. So it's just kind of like, until I'm back at that conditioning again, I'm just gonna, it's kind of like I'm back at square one, you know, like maybe I'm not at my best performance. And I know that I haven't been giving like my best performances these last 3 shows. So I'm like assessing them and making sure that I can do a better job the following week or the following show.
No, that's important. I guess I don't want to keep you guys too long because I promised a short show. But if you can give a word of advice to new performers, what would that be?
I would say be open to listening to any type of advice or anything like that. You don't know everything. I don't know everything. Everyone doesn't know everything. You can learn something from everybody. And don't be cocky and arrogant, because what's given to you can't get taken from you like that.
Oh, absolutely.
And you're not entitled to shit. And there will always be someone that can do things better or whatever like that. And it's really, don't compare yourself either, because you bring something different. then the next girl, I bring something different than the next person. And honestly, if they wanted everybody to be the same queen or the same DJ, they would just have that one queen or that one DJ doing it. So you're there for a reason. Do your best and be open and observe it and listen, and just have a good attitude.
And that touches on something I've been saying, which is fine. Like, so when I started watching you perform, Roselia, I was like, oh, and Yaya, I want to do what you guys do, but I want to do my version. I don't want to be the next Roselia. I can't. I don't want to be the next Yaya. I can't. How can I be Suzette and serve what they just served? What's my path to that?
And Clifton hit all of those right on the head. Those are great tips: to listen, to not mistake confidence with cockiness, and it's really to ask those questions. So, for example, Suzette, if you're saying that you're seeing something within other performers locally that you want to learn more about, it would be the same thing that I did years ago when I started out, is ask those people those questions. It's like, what can I do to do this better? Because you guys obviously have such a hold on it that I don't have. And that obviously comes from just practice, but you need to know what the practice is.
Right.
Because you can be practicing something incorrectly and you're not going to get anything really fulfilling out of it.
Right.
But if you at least have the right instructions, then at least that way you can actually start producing the things that you want. And so that's the advice I would give. And everything that Clifton said, I would just echo, because I'm not here to like bash anybody's confidence, because I do 100% believe that all drag is valid. This is not an easy art form by any means, but it does require, and I apologize for my French here, but it does require a shit ton of work.
Oh no,
like
go ahead,
a
cuss.
massive amount of work that doesn't start and stop when you have a show. There is so much off stage that you need to be doing. And so I would just really like drive that home. It's like, no, I'm not here to tear anyone's drag down, because I love all drag. I just want to see it be the best version that it can be. And that's not just me like talking down to anybody, because that goes for me as well. When I feel like I'm doing a bad job, I'm going to stop, redo it, and make it better.
Okay. I mean, I think that's good. I think that's a healthy attitude, because you're not, what's key is you're not saying, oh, I've done everything I can do. You're always finding a way to improve, which is fundamental to being a performer. You're never at the top of what you can do. Clifton, do you have any closing remarks on performer entitlement?
I think that, if you come around with the stank ass attitude, eventually that stank ass attitude is going to get you kicked out the door. And that's life in general. That could be drag, that could be DJing, that could be working in an office, that could be being in a team, that could be everything. Just your attitude is oh God, this is the HR talking in me. God, I work too much. Your attitude is your invisible resume. So sorry, I hear that at work all the time, and like I have to I see it in so many things, but it's true. Your attitude is your invisible resume, and that rapport that you have with people, like even if you're not the most polished queen, but you're nice, you're welcoming, you're receptive to criticism, and you actually take it and use it, you will get booked more. Now, if you're coming up in there and yeah, you may have the most fanciest wigs and someone else may paint you, so you're painted to the gods and you got these gaudy outfits that you done rented off of dressesforqueens.com and something like that, and you just think you are the cat's meow, but you were talking down on folks and you showing up an hour and a half late and holding up things and got a funky attitude and think that you should be on every show that a Drag Race girl is on, ain't nobody gonna want you here. So, it's really, you give what you get. And if you give the good energy, it will come back. So.
And Roselia, do you have any closing remarks on performer entitlement?
I just want to say I'm glad that I'm here with Clifton, because he keeps bringing up the things that I'm like forgetting to say and like saying them better. So I'm going to, again, echo everything he said, because one thing that I forgot to mention is that aside from the artistry that drag performers need to have, professionalism is like the number one thing you need to have, because again, you may not be like the most well put together performer out there, but if you're showing up on time for your gigs, if you're making it a pleasant experience for everyone, and you're making sure everybody remembers who you are and that you're easy to work with, guess what? They're gonna want to work with you again. But if you're difficult to work with, don't be shocked that you're not anybody's first call for the next show. And lastly, like the biggest part of entitlement, I think, comes from people saying, well, I do drag, I want a show. No one is giving these shows out. Trust me, nobody has come to me and said, Roselia, here's a show, do it. Nobody has ever done that. I do not want that, because I know how much work goes into a show and managing a show and running a show. So people who really want a show, I would advise that they do what Suzette did, and that is put in an immense amount of work, talk to people, maybe get the door slammed in your face more than once, but you have to be okay with rejection, and you have to be persistent, because guess what? Suzette eventually got shows, you know? Mm-hmm. So if you really want it, don't expect for it to come into your lap. You're gonna have to work for it. And I think that's something that these new performers don't want to hear, is that you actually have to put in the work, and there's a lot of work.
And I'll follow that up by saying, I did Sunday night last week, the showcase, and we're in COVID, so things are a little bit different. But it was my third in 4 years. It was my third Sunday night, and upcoming next Friday, the poster's out, so I can say it. I get to be in the Friday, and Taryn's Fridays are still Fridays are a drag. So I get to be in the Friday as a drag with you and with Helen and with Apple and with Taryn, and I am the good nervous. I'm so excited. I'm so nervous. I want to do so well. I don't want to mess it up. It's a Friday. I don't get booked a lot. I book my own shows. And you're right. I got the door slammed in my face a lot, but I had to just say, you know, I'll just do my own shows. And that's not easy, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how Friday goes. We'll see how Friday goes. And last Sunday was great. But it's a journey. And if you're not getting booked, you have to find a way to perform still. And you can't just complain. You have to say, how do I do it? So I guess that's my response to that. You got me a little verklempt.
And be humble.
Very true. And also, I just want to say that
they just said don't be humble. This is a confusing thing.
Be humble, but don't be humble. Be right. Both at the same time. And my last remark is, I just want to go out to the club when Clifton's DJing, because all the things that he said he wants to play that he doesn't, I was like, I would go.
Well, and now you're vaccinated. You'll come out.
Fully vaxxed. Okay. Ready to dance to Clifton's playlist.
Well, we can't dance in person yet.
Ready to enjoy Clifton's playlist.
In the seat.
In the seat.
Yeah, I think June 15th, everything's going back to normal.
Oh, Lord. Honestly, I'm ready for that day, because, you know, the girls have been itching to dance. Like last night, like security.
Oh.
Bless security's heart. Because like they had to really tell these people to stop dancing so many times last night. And you know, from a DJ's point of view, that's a good thing. I'm like, oh, y'all dancing, y'all moving. But I'm also like, oh, sit down, sis, sit down. But June 15th, you know, the girls are going to be dancing. You know, they're going to be on that go-go box looking a fool. And it's going to be a mess. And I can't wait to see it.
Honey, you have no idea what went down last night when you went home. I will tell you both.
I saw.
You saw? Oh, because I had a front row seat.
I know. Yeah, you were standing right there because I got my scooter, and I just saw, like, because my scooter was right over there, and I saw like a whoosh, like a whole bunch of people running over there, and I was just like, what is going on? And then when I saw the aftermath, and I saw.
Well, let me fill in the viewers and Roselia and yeah. So I got to the bar to set up brunch, right? Because that is part of what I do. I got to the bar at 1 a.m. To take down some equipment and set up tables. And a gentleman got stabbed in front of the bar. And subsequent brawls broke out after the stabbing. And he was like going back into the brawl. And I was like, what are you doing? And he was like, well, I need a doctor. And I was like, does it look like there's I can't turn it off. I was like, does it look like there's a doctor in there? And he was like, no. I was like, then don't go back in. What are you doing? And then a tiny little woman came out of the fence, and she looked at me. And the audience, I don't know if they've seen me. I'm 5'5". I'm a very small person. She looked at me, and she was like, are you going to get in there and do something? And I was like, no.
Those dudes are like bigger than me.
Yeah,
Like,
there's 60 grown men with knives in the street.
And the thing about it is,
I'm not gonna get in. What am I gonna do? I'm gonna get stabbed. I'm gonna stay here. I'm gonna protect this fence. Yeah, stab. I'm gonna protect this fence. I'm gonna make sure that I don't have to rebuild this fence, because that would be my job. And I'm gonna just, once it's over, I'm gonna go inside and eat my Kiki's chicken, because I just got Kiki's chicken, and I was mad that my Kiki's chicken was getting cold.
Taste.
You gotta priorities, right? I'm not gonna get in a fight. So yeah, there was a lot going on last night.
It was so quick, Rosalita, because like I'm getting my scooter and I just see the crowd go, and of course, you know, I'm nosy, so I'm like, okay, what's going on? I thought it was like, you know, if it's a girl fight, I feel like girls.
Oh, there was a girl fight. There was a very drunk white girl, and she was in the face of everybody else, and then she got pushed down, and that was the one that made me nervous, because she got pushed against the fence, and I was like, no, not here, just 6 inches to the left, 6 inches to the left, and everyone's looking at me like I'm crazy, and I'm like, I don't want to rebuild.
Look at what your playlist did, Clifton. You got them so riled up. They had all that energy.
It wasn't It was the Blink 182 that got requested.
It was the Blink 182.
It was all the small things.
Not the I Miss You dance remix.
You know, you would have thought I was playing Knuck If You Buck the way they was acting out there. Like, and like, it was just so quick, because like the 3 dudes were fighting. I didn't even see a knife. But then when I saw the guy take his shirt off and he had this big old gash right here, I was like, you know what?
Well, then someone was like, "Are you gonna help him?" And I was like, "No, he's sweaty and bloody."
And he wasn't one of our patrons.
I'm not in love with him, so I'm not gonna touch a sweaty, bloody man.
And then he had some choice language that was coming out of his mouth that kind of rubbed me wrong, and I was like, maybe that's why you got beat up, because you're a Caucasian man and you done said the N-word quite a few times, and I was just like, I see why. I'm not justifying it though, but I see why you're.
Look, you're just saying what everyone knows, and that's bitches get stitches. Yeah. So, okay. In conclusion, 1, don't be a bitch, don't get stabbed, unless it's stab comedy theater, and then fully get stabbed. 2. Put in the time, put in the effort, listen to people, ask questions. I think I'm summating all, and both of you, please correct me if I'm wrong. Ask questions of people that you admire, ask questions of people that are getting the bookings that you want to get. Figure out a way to perform, figure out a way to be you, but also to get the crowd to buy into you. Is all this kind of what we're saying?
Mm-hmm. Oh, and the last thing that I forgot to say, especially for new performers, if you're not getting booked, this is similar to, like, you know, what I was saying about getting your own show. But if you're not getting booked, it's because, you know, we haven't had shows in well over a year because of COVID. People may not know who you are. They're not going to just know who you are because you do drag on Instagram. You better be reaching out to the people who do the bookings and say, hey, I love your show. I want to do your show. Do you have room for me? Because that's what I did too. Way back when. It's like nobody was booking this 4th place loser back when I started doing drag. I asked people at all the bars, I'm like, hey, do you have room in your show for me? And eventually they'll say, yeah, we have an extra spot. Come and perform. Nobody's going to do it for you. You got to put in the work.
Okay, and really quick, I forgot to bring this point up. And Clifton, I don't think this is the same because I don't think you're spinning for free. But Rosie, you said that you did shows and you weren't getting paid. That is a very real thing with all of the performers that I admire. You've both included, and Taryn and Apple, Helen. The first, sometimes 4 or 5 years, you're not getting paid. You're not making money. You're doing this because you want to. And what I find, and Clifton, tell me if this exists in the DJ world, there are people that, and I said this last week on the show, so I'm not going to try to find a polite way to say it. There are people that don't have the creativity, that it's not them. Performing is not them. They see this as a way to get rich or a way to get famous, which is hilarious because I don't know anyone that's rich and famous, and I know some of the best performers, and I get to work with some of the best performers that I've ever seen. But there are people that just look at this and say, oh, this is the way to do it. This is the way to be famous. This is the way to be rich. But they don't have that. It's not even a drive. They don't have that spark, that creative spark in them. And you certainly had it, Roselia. But maybe when Yaya came along, it inspired you more. Mm-hmm. Maybe I had it, but I didn't know how to focus it. Maybe I was making my scope too wide or too narrow. Either way, but we all had that creative drive, and certainly we performed with performers who they don't, for lack of a better word, they're giving you the thing that they think they should give, but they don't know why they're giving it, and if pressed, they're going to give it to you again because there's nothing inside of them saying to do something. Clifton, does that exist and Rosie, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree.
Clifton, does that exist in the DJ world? Are there DJs that get into DJing just because they like the acclaim, the accolades of being a DJ?
Paris Hilton.
That's hot. Whew.
I mean, I don't know any. I wouldn't say none of the ones that are in our spaces. They're all doing it because they want to do it. They enjoy doing it. They're not doing it to get acclaim or to be at EDC or things like that, though. But then you see some of these girls like Paris Hilton. There's a couple of like girls on Twitch who actually, I'll send you some links later on, where some got caught faking a set because basically they already got a pre-made set and they got the track playing and they're just sitting there with their tits up and just, faking like they're spinning. And I'm just like, girl, what? You're pushing things, but I'm not hearing things. Who are you fooling?
He was on my TikTok, huh, Clifton?
And I have my DJ name picked out. It's very corny. It's DJ JD, Disc Jockey at Law. And I have a hat that I'm gonna wear. I'm ready for it when I get my opportunity. It's just a backup thing in case somebody's sick. It does not live inside me. I've been dreaming of this moment. But if I do it, I will not fake a set. I will give it my all. Anyway, I'm glad that you don't encounter that. I'm sorry that you do, because I know I do. I see that a lot in comedy too. And it's like, and I'll say this bluntly, you're not, and people say this about me, so I don't even feel bad. They'll be like, oh, you're not funny. What are you doing? Why are you doing? You thought you were funny, but you're not. So maybe don't do this. And you're not saying it to be mean. You're saying it because they're mad that they're not getting what you're working hard for.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I have strong feelings about it.
I think that's right on the money. If they're seeing you on a flyer and they're getting press about it, that they're not on the flyer, they're mad at the wrong person. You did not take them off the flyer. You put in work that they didn't, and you got a result that they did not get. So, well,
the flyer, I think, is a great place to end this, because I am so excited to see you on any flyer, especially mine. Yaya, love seeing you on any flyer, especially mine. Clifton, love that you're on this show every week. Do both of you have any parting words? We'll go Clifton first.
I will just see y'all next week.
Okay, I will see you next week. It'll be a brief show. Chelsea and I are going to bop in before we go over to Punchline. So I will see you next week. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you. I adore you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And Roselia, do you have any parting words?
Just thank you so much for having me here. I had so much fun getting to just dish with my girls, and I loved getting to see Clifton and talk to Clifton again. my girl, my real housewife. Can't wait to go to Badlands post-pandemic when the dance floors open up and he's spinning. It's going to be the party. But thank you again so much for having me here.
And I want to just because a lot of the viewership, we talk about brunch all the time. So thank you for being at brunch today.
Thank you for having me.
You are amazing. And it was so much fun to get to be with you again. And I can't wait for Friday when we get to do it all over again.
For all y'all watching, get there soon.
Oh, yeah.
Get there early, I mean.
Yeah, right. Because people ask me, and Clifton knows, people ask me, Clifton, what time should I get there? Like 9? And I'm like, no, 7:30. Like first come, first serve.
Because them seats fill up.
They fill up on Friday. Like brunch, you reserve, and we're 2 weeks. I mean, you saw it, Rosalia. Like we are 2 weeks ahead. Like you got to get your tickets. But brunch or the evening shows are first come. Get there, like line up at the comic book store if you have to. Get there, get in line, make sure you get your seat.
Boom.
Because live performing is back. Okay, and I'm working with Yaya. We're trying to figure out what we're gonna do next, because we want to do something. Anyhow, I think we're gonna skip Shapiro. You don't have a strong desire to talk to David Shapiro, right? We can skip him.
No, I actually have a few words for him, so he better hope that I don't see him anytime soon.
Okay. Ooh. I mean, do you want to skip him right now and talk to him off camera?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll skip him today. He is expendable, ladies and gentlemen. We don't have to go to him. He is nothing to me. Anyway, Clifton, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you, Suzette.
Absolutely. Rosalia, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Jesse, thank you for having us. That is the end of the show. We'll be back next week on the 23rd at 5:03 p.m. with Chelsea Bierce in studio. Thank you for tuning in.
Shit, ooh, I love it, yeah, yeah. Stumbling, but yeah, you're still looking hella fun. Keep doing what you're doing, and we'll make you mine. Well, you're a hot mess, and I'm falling for you, and I'm like, hot damn, let me make you my boo. 'Cause you can shake it, shake it, shake it, yeah, you know what to do. You're a hot mess, I'm loving it, hell yeah. The city's your playground, I watch you take a bite. At 5 a.m. roaming the streets, drunk all night. You think you're hot shit, and ooh, I love it, yeah, yeah.